Hey, what's up guys? Jessica J here. I'm a full-service independent escort from Brisbane, Australia. I'm the host of the Latex Files podcast where I talk about all this sort of stuff, and I also create content on TikTok and Instagram. As you might know, a lot of escorts and clients alike talk about escorts playing a fantasy sort of role, playing the role of the ideal girlfriend or ideal wife, in that the bar for entry is simply that you turn up respectfully, pay the money, and have decent hygiene, and you're generally positive, and you'll get to engage in some sort of SEO interaction every time you see us. So for a man, this can represent the ideal type of engagement with a woman, and it can very easily lead to men becoming very enamored with the woman, maybe thinking they're in love. We seem like the ideal woman to engage with. And this can obviously be a reason why it may not necessarily be the best idea to date an escort, and vice versa. Like a lot of escorts will say it, usually works out bad for escorts to date their clients. But yeah, one of the reasons is because every time that client has engaged with an escort, it is in a capacity that is very frictionless. You go there with very much a certainty of results. The expectations for what you're providing as the client in the interaction are really low. Like there's no kind of broader role or responsibility other than those I just mentioned earlier. But now the reason for my video was to get you thinking about the flip side, the converse, and that is, and I don't think a lot of people think about this, that actually when the client turns up and they're engaging in our service and engaging with us as the escort, they are actually cosplaying as well. Like they are actually as well playing the role of the gentleman. This is something I've been thinking about recently in the context of the I love yous and the love feelings that clients get for me and other escorts. I've been experiencing a lot of that. I've been reading about a lot of that, hearing about a lot of it, but I don't think another thing that's talked about very often is the sort of flip side. And that is that when our clients come to see us, they can appear like faultless, flawless gentlemen. Our clients are really playing that frictionless persona, the good ones. They will come in, most of my experiences are very positive with men. They'll come in looking and smelling clean and fresh and nice, being really nice to me, maybe treating me to gifts and things, tips, and making their payment, and then doing the booking with me, generally abiding by the rules. It's all very pleasant, it's all very frictionless, and then they leave and it's low stress. And they can do certain things which do make them do and say certain things that make them appear like perfect gentlemen. They are cosplaying the perfect gentleman. Whether that might be being thoughtful, providing you with gifts that you've thought in your mind that you might like, or that align with something you might have said on social media, or they're taking you out and like trying to wine you and dine you at restaurants and treating you like a princess. That doesn't mean that the client is actually a gentleman in their personal life. So you'll see sometimes when, I talk on social media about seeing clients, I might have a lot of women in the comments saying like, oh, I don't know how you could work for men, like that's horrible, under the assumption that men are coming to us as the escort in the same way that they might be engaging with women regularly on the daily out and about in their lives, which is full of friction or just not generally very positive at all. So it's really important to remember, this is a quick video that I just wanted to sort of explain why, and maybe this gets you guys thinking about, the sort of relationship you might have with a worker and the relationship you might have with women in your personal life and how they sort of differ. is that it's obviously very easy for an escort to treat a client really well, treat the guy that's coming to see them really well and with like a whole lot of care and consideration and just with our utmost attention and giving them that love feeling, because they have come to us like a real gentleman. And it might be the polar opposite experience that the women in their lives are getting, such as every time they're coming to us, having a big bunch of flowers in their hand and a bottle of wine, or making a point to book our favorite restaurant. They've remembered what our favorite restaurant is. They're making a point to book it, or getting us little jewelry items or things that we've thought of, or like pretty things, saying really nice things to us, telling us that we're beautiful, telling us that we are sexy, definitely just in every way looking to please us and take care of us and sort of sometimes even sort of like worship us. And I think sometimes, and I think the teachable moment in some of this is if you are a guy that's engaging with escorts and thinking that, oh, well, you know, women in my personal life don't treat me like this, and so thinking that it's like their issue that they don't sort of treat you like that. Please understand that you are putting on the gentleman cosplay, and in your personal life, you might not necessarily be putting on the gentleman cosplay. So it is very easy for an escort to placate to all of your desires when you are engaging in that gentleman cosplay and doing it well. And I also want to encourage you, if there are any other SWs that are watching this content and you might have found yourself being very attracted to certain clients that are displaying that, like I'm definitely not immune to it. I've definitely had a couple of slip-ups. Please remember and understand that a lot of the time it is smoke and mirrors. A lot of the time they are not actually gentlemen in real life. They're coming to you looking perfectly put together, definitely thoughtful and caring in the gifts and things that they're bringing to you. They're generous, they're well put together, they are asking you a whole manner of things, like definitely engaging in conversation, wanting to get to know more about you, giving you all the compliments, like acting like you're amazing and everything. They're able to do that for the period of time that they've booked you. And a big part of the reason why they are able to do it for that period of time is because they're putting out what they're expecting to get in return. Like it's a transactional sort of exchange. They know that if they do all those things and they're extra nice to you, you're going to be extra nice to them and validate them emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually. It's not necessarily that that is who these guys are. And a lot of the time, I'm really sorry to say, a lot of the time, a lot of that extra stuff is covering up something that they're not doing or who they are in their personal lives. In my view, it's often covering over the fact that they have a relationship in their personal life with a woman, often that is not, they're not behaving necessarily like a gentleman because they're thinking that that woman isn't behaving in the way that they're expecting them to behave. Like there has been a breakdown there, or they are divorced, or they have been in long-term relationships that have ended for whatever reason. And it's not necessarily that they were acting like gentlemen the entire time in that relationship. They're not doing all the things for you in their relationship. They're not acting the same. They're playing a gentleman cosplay. And I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm just telling the truth as it is. I don't think it necessarily makes any client a bad person. Do I want them to not act like gentlemen and everything? Of course not. Of course, I love when my clients come to me and they're acting like gentlemen, but then I do have to remind myself, and when I do see certain red flags, pull myself up more quickly to say, hang on a second, just because he's behaving in a certain way to me that appears kind of like too good to be true, chances are it probably is. And you have to, and it doesn't necessarily mean he's like that in his personal life. And it doesn't necessarily mean he would be like that or is able to be that type of man to you in his personal life. And a lot of the time, these behaviors, these overwhelming, gentlemanly sort of behaviors are masking something else. They are demonstrating, he's putting on a show and engaging in this fantasy in alignment with the man that he wants to be and wants to portray to a woman that he finds desirable that he is, to have that validation, but it's not actually the type of man that he is in real life. And this is another reason why one must tread extremely cautiously and carefully on both sides of the equation when you're considering, hey, maybe there could be something more, like something outside of the work relationship. If you are thinking about going into a full-fledged like monogamous relationship or whatever sort of relationship with an escort or with a client, you know, both sides have to be thinking that there's going to be a whole lot of friction in the relationship. And what you've experienced up till now is frictionless, and it's also both party putting on 110% of their best effort, putting on not a show, but definitely one is cosplaying the, you know, woman, the ideal woman who's not going to give you a hard time, who's going to listen to all your concerns, listen to all your stories, provide you with like sexual gratification, listen to your fantasies, engage in your fantasies, you know, all of those things constantly, every single time you see that woman, versus on the other side, every single time you see a client, he's going to be turning up respectfully and on time and, you know, dressed beautifully with a bunch of flowers in hand and a bottle of wine in hand, paying you, okay, contributing to your like ability to support yourself and your lifestyle, not giving you a hard time, and potentially he's sort of like overlooking certain things that he might not necessarily ideally like about you. Or like for me, an example might be, you know, I've probably got a lot of clients that don't like when I talk things, you know, politics. I would say majority of my clients are a little bit more right-leaning than I am. You know, all of those things, like both sides aren't necessarily in their real lives how they're projecting that they are during the service. It's just really important to remember that. Well, so look, this was a bit of a off-base kind of like rambling video, but something to like think about in your minds. Maybe comment below. Do you find like guys, when you are going to see an escort, like do you feel a little bit like that? Like you're putting on your gentlemanly kind of best effort that you might not necessarily do in your day-to-day life? Do you feel that you do kind of cosplay a different type of guy or your ideal type of guy? But do let me know in the comments below. Am I onto something? Do you think I'm onto something? Anyway, thank you so much for your support, guys, your viewership. Really appreciate it.